Our next speaker is a global entrepreneur and has been a motivational leader for many of us in this room today. It was his vision, direction, and strategy that created IBS. VK's passion for life, work, and the people around him, and his commitment to making the world a better place has certainly benefited his home state of Kerala in India, has benefited the entrepreneurial spirit of India as a country, and has delivered incredible value to the global innovators of the travel industry. He founded IBS in 1997 as an entrepreneurial venture, and in its growth as a multinational corporation, he has ensured that it has remained ever innovative in nature. I request Mr. VK Mathews, Executive Chairman of the IBS Group, to come on stage and deliver the theme address for the event, Innovating in a World of Disruptions.
My presentation is loaded. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Great pleasure to be here today. Once again, welcome to the IBS Customer Summit 2016, to our customers, industry representatives, speakers, and everyone else. So the theme is Innovating in a World of Disruptions. Let me just try to explain the relevance of this conference. GDP growth, or growth in economic output, is considered to be a measure of progress. In other words, we believe that we are better off if we consume every day, every month, every year, more than what we consumed in the previous year. So that means I should consume more today than what I have consumed yesterday, or more this month than what we have consumed last month. And ladies and gentlemen, it is not an easy thing to do, particularly for the developed world, where they probably feel that they have everything. You have a fridge, you have a house, you have a car, you have television, you have your iPhone and all the 1 million applications already downloaded. How else will you actually consume more? And this is equally a problem for the developing world like India and China. Not because we don't know what to consume, we have a lot of unmet demand, but because of the problem of affordability. Consumption may not be affordable. So on both these cases, for the developed world as well as for the developing world, the answer is innovation. How can we innovate to make sure that the developing world can consume more? Similarly, how can we actually create how can we influence the behavior of people in the developed world to make sure that they consume more? And this task becomes all the more difficult when we are disrupted heavily in a manner and at a pace that we have never seen before, economically, financially, and socially. So that is the challenge. And for the people who are sitting here, for most of the people who are sitting here who are from the travel, transportation, logistics verticals, we have a selfish interest. How can we motivate the world to consume more travel? And what is it that we should be doing to encourage people to consume more travel? And that is the theme today. So I did discuss yesterday, while networking with most of you, some of the topics, some of the things that I wanted to actually discuss. So the topic today is business environment, the world of disruptions, the digital impact, travel, enterprise of the future. This is what I'm going to cover in the next 30-35 minutes. Rajiv has already encroached 15 minutes into my speech. I will try to actually make up. I don't want Dr. Tharoor to actually reduce his speech because I really keenly look forward to listening to Dr. Tharoor. So, today's business environment, I am going to, ladies and gentlemen, bring two topics today, which all of us, not only us, leaders of nations, leaders of community, leaders of enterprises, all of us talk. This is a discussion point in all our interactions. What are they? the factors affecting the global economy today. We will talk about whether that is a cause or effect later, but one is the global energy crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, all of us know that for reasons we don't quite know, but I think we know, the oil prices have dropped almost 70% in a very short period of time. I would like to also bring another one, the China slowdown. After growing 8 to 9 to 10% during the last 5 years, China's growth has come down to something like 6%, and the forecast is that it is going to remain at that level for the next 5 years. These two topics are very important because they impact the economy today. I just want to bring a little bit more flavor to it. The first one, the oil prices versus supply and demand. What I'm trying to show here is, in fact, the price drop, the significant price drop, I've actually plotted demand supply there, is not because there is a significant gap between the demand and supply. The prices have actually dropped, but it has very little to do with the demand supply. Why? I think you should keep that in mind. The second one, if I really look at the three oil majors, with all the three, with two of them, we do business. In fact, I was talking to the head of logistics of Shell worldwide, Herman, yesterday, who was here yesterday, and also Corey from Chevron. Shell dropped its revenue from 422 billion to something like 265 billion. That's about 15 billion less billing every month. This is dramatic. And sometimes the drop is, if you really look at the drop that they have experienced, is more than the GDP of several countries. ExxonMobil and BP, all of them. And in a later slide, I'll show to you that the GDP of exploration production linked, so the exploration production linked, not the total, has contracted by $1 trillion. And this is going to have steep drop in revenues, lead to major disruption in the sector. Again, 2015 fiscal breakdown, so break-even prices of oil. I just taken 4 countries and I've shown what is the break-even crude oil price for these countries to have a balanced budget. And that is quite high. And the rising fiscal deficits of these countries, so Venezuela, Nigeria, and Russia, and Saudi Arabia, is actually affecting their sovereign credit ratings. This has significant implication. When the credit rating of a country, sovereign credit rating is impacted, it is going to become more difficult for them to actually have access to credit. Again, this is the slide that I was actually talking about. Between 2014 and 15, 50% impact on incremental GDP growth. People in the travel industry like us, we saw the drop in price as a great thing because airlines have made profits, travel companies have made profits, but it is not going to be a long-term phenomena because on the demand side, we will see softening because considerable part of the world is earning less because of this. So the drop is about, 77 trillion to 79 trillion or 2 trillion growth. That would have been 3 trillion if GDP of exploration production did not contract by $1 trillion. So this is massive. And then the China slowdown. All of us know about it. I'm just trying to bring a little bit of clarity here. All of these companies, world's largest iron ore producer, world's largest mining company, world's largest commodities trader, all of them lost money. All of them lost money. These are disruptions to the economic and the financial fabric that connects production and consumption. And if I really look at Caterpillar, even though their exposure to China was limited, you can see that their value and the valuation has dropped by about 40%. Again, China slowdown. just to show the dependence of the economies of these countries. 33% of all of the export of Australia is to China. So nations exporting to China will definitely go through a difficult period. Even though Germany is dependent only 6.6%, but Germany exports about 1.3 trillion. So what am I trying to say here? So the China slowdown and the energy crisis is significantly impacting the economy and the meaningful engagement of people. Having said that, if I really look at still, what does it actually mean 2014 to 2020? The good thing is that even when China is slowing down, it's actually contributing, adding a Switzerland or a G20 nation to the economy every year. 800 billion. It's big. It's massive. It's good. Even though it is good, the dependence on China is the one which I'm actually talking about. The dependence is huge because their impact is still huge. Despite this, China will add a Switzerland every year to the world GDP. So these impacting factors, this is what the point that I want to actually bring here. These impacting factors are in fact not the cause, ladies and gentlemen, but the effect of something larger. And it represents what I call as the unfolding of a new normal. And that's what I actually talk about, what really is. This is not the cause. This is the effect of something else. And the world of disruption. So let's actually go through this. The unfolding of a new normal. We talk about disruption and what is that new normal? And that is the one which we need to be worrying about. I'm going to bring to you 4 typifying events which signals the unfolding of this new normal. 1, China leads the globe in holiday consumption. Last November, in fact, 11th of November 2015, the Chinese Singles Day, China consumed in one day $15 billion of holidays by Chinese men. And US used to be the biggest holiday consumer on the Cyber Monday, which is the Monday after the Thanksgiving holiday. But last year, US consumption was 1/5 of China's consumption. This is actually something that we got to be careful. The second one, US has become largest producer of oil. Ladies and gentlemen, the Department of Energy and Administration of the United States made this stunning declaration towards the end of 2013 that America has become self-sufficient in oil thanks to fracking. The general expectation initially was that it is going to just impact the oil prices. It didn't come down immediately, but it slowly but surely came down. But that is not the biggest impact. The biggest impact is this. America consumes pretty much 25% of the globe's energy, but they produced only 65% of that. As a result of which, America and rightfully the leaders of US wanted to make sure that there is no hindrance to the oil supply. The oil supplies are not disrupted. And America, therefore, US, used to very proactively and at times aggressively engage with the rest of the world, and more so the oil-producing world, to make sure that the supply is not disrupted, but US doesn't need to do that anymore. And what does it actually mean? That could lead to social, political instabilities and sometimes stabilities around the world, and which is something which is a typifying event that I would like to highlight. And the next one, ladies and gentlemen, all of you know, but I just want to bring this topic just to reiterate the point that I'm actually making. In fact, in 2014, a messaging application was purchased by Facebook for a whopping $22 billion. And this was the messaging application developed by a 5-year-old startup company with 50 people, WhatsApp, for $22 billion. I can guarantee that in 2014, 99% of the executives who run enterprises worldwide, who were grown and brought up during the last 30 years, would never have taken that decision, but somebody did, and it worked very well for them. So, the fourth one which I wanted to quote is just about 18 months back, September 2014, India has placed a satellite in the orbits of Mars. Nothing new. India became the fourth country and the first country to have achieved in the first attempt. That also is not the reason why I'm actually bringing this. I'm bringing this as a typifying event because India achieved this at a total cost of $74 million, which is less than the production cost of the Hollywood movie Gravity. It talks about the power of the frugal innovation culture of the country of India with 1,300 million people. And that's the reason why, and this is why I talked about this as one of the typifying events. And I say the end of a period of continuity and persistence of trends. Economics use a word called, great moderation. They talk about this period of great moderation for the 30 years leading up to the end of the global financial crisis. And what does it mean, the period of moderation? It means that during that 30 years, and that is the 30 years when most of us have actually had our education, we took up the job and we become, leaders in enterprises. And this period of great moderation is one which has a lot of predictability. The interest rates remain same, if not falling. Industry grew on the back of trade and technology. We had natural resources and human resources coming. And we invested in assets, financial as well as physical assets, homes. All of them appreciated. Our parents lived a life better than our grandparents, and we think we are living better than our parents, and we expect that our children will have a greater life. But, ladies and gentlemen, all of these events says that it may not be true. It may not be true. I'll tell you the new normal and what is causing it. What is the reason for these changes? The first one, the shifting locus of global economic activity and dynamism. In fact, the economic activity and the balance of power of the economic activity is shifting towards South and East. In 2000, only 5% of the large corporations in the world, which means 1 billion plus, was operating in East. Whereas in 2025, close to 50% of all of the large corporations in the world will either headquarter or operate in South and East. There's a small city called Tianjin, about 120 kilometers south of Beijing, southeast of Beijing. The GDP of that particular small state, most of you wouldn't have even heard of. Some of, I'm sure, Dr. Tharoor would have heard of. The GDP of Tianjin in 2025 is expected to be is more than the GDP of Sweden, with a plus minus 3% accuracy. So this is big. I would like to see what is the second one, what is causing it? Accelerated scope, scale, and economic impact of technology. The intensity of technology in our life and business is growing so exponentially that it will be apt to actually dub it as the second half of the chessboard. The interesting story of the Chinese emperor and the inventor of the chessboard. The emperor was very fascinated by, as you know, the brilliance of the chessboard and the game of chess, and he wanted to gift the inventor. And he asked the inventor, how can I actually express my gratitude to you to have created this magnificent game? And the inventor said, sir, we will play a game of chess and you gift me in grains, 1 grain for the first move and 2 for the second, 4 for the third, doubling thereafter. The emperor thought, how stupid. This guy is, I thought he's a bright guy, but anyway, I will actually agree to that. But they started playing the game. Of course, the inventor wanted to actually extend the game, so he did not defeat the emperor. So the moves went on. The first 32 moves were pretty uneventful by the time. But they reached the 63rd move, ladies and gentlemen. You can imagine that is about 18 million trillion grains, more than sufficient to cover the surface of the earth by 2 folds. So that is the second fold. So the processing power of the computer has doubled, has 32 times from the First World War ever it was invented till today. You can imagine what is going to happen through the next 32 moves. And that is the time we are living, and that's why I call it as the second half of the chessboard. And it's not only the processing power and the connectivity, but also the enormity of the data and the information that's available and our capacity to scientifically crunch them to produce meaningful, predictive future. And that is the reason why I say the accelerated scope, scale, and economic impact of technology. See, the iPhone 6 has 32,600 times more processing power as that of Apollo 11. So this is massive. Again, the significantly increasing demographic deficit. You know what it means? The world population is aging and graying, and the fertility is falling. We have people from Japan and Germany here. I can give this estimates for you both. The working population of Germany will drop by 20 million by 2050 is the forecast. It's 54 million today. It will become 34 million. And Japan's working population will drop by 37% by 2050, plus minus 5% accuracy. This is the forecast. What does it actually mean? We have to really, what does it mean is, less number of people have to produce more to still make sure that we are producing more, assuming that what we produce is going to be consumed. And the last but not the least, so we are talking about what are the disruptive forces which is causing this, producing this new normal. The last but the least, which I want to talk about, is the new phase of globalization. As you know, there are economists sitting here. There are three dimensions of economic flows: the flows of trade, the flows of capital, and the flows of people across borders. And these are the ones which is actually more of these flows is going to get remapped again to South and East. And again, all of these flows literally froze in 2018 when the global financial crisis came. But ladies and gentlemen, these flows are going to be more decided and connected by technology, and they will continue uninterrupted in future, creating significant opportunities for the world as well through these disruptions. That's what I was actually talking about. So, in this new world, what is the point that I'm actually making? In this new world, we have the CIOs and the CXOs. Ladies and gentlemen, leaders have to reset their intuitions. We really need to reset our intuitions. How do you take that? Again, 10 years back, when Google acquired YouTube for, I think at that point in time, about $3 million or something, I was really shocked. And this company, which does not even, so $1.5 billion, and Google's revenue, YouTube's revenue was less than $3 million at that time. I was wondering, how the hell can you acquire a company paying $1.5 billion? And that's the reason why I'm actually saying, in this new world, leaders have to reset their intuitions, while the new era is deeply unsettling, also presents great opportunities. And with that, I'm getting into the digital impact part. As you know, digital is much more than IT, and has opened up an ocean of transformational opportunities for the enterprises. Digital means, we know about SMAC, social media, mobility, analytics, and cloud, maybe IoT plus, information security, a lot of those things. The digital enterprise leverages digital technology for transforming the internal and external operations to stay ahead of competition. We know this, heard about this. And this is what I talk about, the digital enterprise. Enabled by technology, driven by human behavior. It amplifies human behavior clearly. The iPhone, which never existed before 2007, now has an economy around it of about 1.2 trillion. And it is considered to be more valuable than the food and the shelter, at least for my two daughters. They find that without that they cannot live, breathe. So we have created an economy which is, so it amplifies the human behavior, creates new opportunities to engage, for engagement, and new engagement creates new business opportunities. This is the digital enterprise. And then shift in the enterprise IT spends very close to our hearts. Those who are actually supplying to customers and those who are actually receiving services from IT companies. You can very clearly see what is going to actually happen. Today we have, excluding some parts of IT spending, we are about 2.7 trillion is the total IT spend, of which 90% is traditional, application development, maintenance, business process outsourcing, all of those. And only 10% is on digital. But by 2020, this is going to become the other way around. The conventional IT spend, which most of the big companies like the IBMs and the Accentures, and also the TCS and the Wipros of the world are doing, that is going to relatively grow slowly, sometimes even shrink, definitely compared to the digital part of it. Direct impact. Shift in the distribution channels. I don't need to tell this. TUI, one of the largest travel companies in the world, from 2010 to 2015, closed 50% of the high street travel shops. 50%. But during that period, definitely their revenue went up. So disintermediation becoming a meaningful trend and necessity. I'll talk more about disintermediation and personalization through the presentation later. But this is becoming sometimes a necessity now. Technologies will create disproportionately high value beyond its boundaries. And the expectation, this is actually McKinsey and Gartner both endorse this. About 16 to 19 trillion. That means it's about 4 to 9 times is the impact that technology is going to make. Today it is 3.7 trillion, including all. That's what the size of IT worldwide. And if it's going to be 4 to 9 times impact on the rest, the economic influence is going to be huge, 16 to 39 trillion. And today, as I've shown you, our GDP is only 79 trillion, so which is more than double, more than half of it. Retail banking space. This is a very interesting slide. So there is a forecast, again McKinsey forecast, is that 50% of all the retail banks, high street branches will close by 2020. And if I take the top 20 retail banks in the world, and then try to look at the payment capabilities of the companies and put them together, in fact, the 19th position is not going to be a bank. It is going to be some of these PayPal and Facebook, the payment part of that business. This is an interesting one. I have actually put the 4 areas of FedEx, and one of the most successful integrators in the world, one of the most successful logistics supply chain service providers. And what is going to happen? You will see significant level of disaggregation in every process area of their operation. There are so many of the players coming, focusing on specific areas and chewing. This is happening today. And these disruptions are going to be there. And of course, it's not only FedEx, it's UPS, it's going to be other integrators and also cargo providers. Hospitality space. I'm not saying anything that you don't know, but just to highlight. Airbnb on the one side, the other side Marriott, Wyndham, and Starwood. Second largest hospitality. What does it actually mean? Airbnb is a digital asset, digital platform. Enterprise value is derived from physical assets and digital assets. Slowly but surely, for the purpose of optimizing the investments that we have made in assets, the value will tilt more towards digital assets. The takeaway is spending less in creating digital infrastructure is not necessarily the health. It doesn't indicate the health of your enterprise. Again, urban transportation space. I'm just talking about the digital disruptions. Uber, what is Uber doing? Uber is basically optimizing the available automobile assets. It can reduce the need for automobiles, cars, by 9 to 13 folds. I have an expensive car, or maybe more, many cars, hardly used, maybe 1 hour a day. Can it be shared? That's what Uber. But Tesla, they are coming up with something dramatically different. The Tesla S is literally built from a tablet, built around a tablet. The autonomous cars, which Google is talking about, if cars or automobiles are going to be self-driven, what is going to happen? What will be the shape of a car? And do we really need to have so many cars on the roads? How is going to be goods and services delivered? In fact, the interesting thing is the automobile field was pretty much uninterrupted by anybody. For the last 15 years, if I really look at, hardly any new entrants. But if I compare that with smartphones and things like that, but that is not going to stay like that. So therefore, the BMWs and the Mercedes, all of them have to worry about this dramatic shift that is actually taking place. The travel enterprise, I'm coming to the close of my presentation. Hopefully, I'll finish in the next 5 minutes. Today's travel industry trends. This is important for us to realize. The first one, which I call, is personalization. What does it mean and why personalization? People spend more if it is easy to spend, or I will buy more if it is easy for me to buy, is the premise. Today, what we do, airlines, most of the travel companies, sell to your customers what you have, not what they want. And digital technologies help us understand our consumer expectations, behavior, and we will be able to personalize the offering, thereby amplify their consumption behavior. The next one is disintermediation. The whole world, it's not only travel, lives in an intermediated mode. Companies intermediate. I recruit employees from one side, I get them to work together, and then I provide service. And there is definitely a value addition. And as long as there is value addition, I'm quite sure there is no problem. But you have to reinvent yourself continuously to make sure that you add value. Otherwise, you become a non-value adding intermediary and you will be disintermediated. And again, disintermediation is important for you to get your customer to know the customer better. And the next one is new distribution capability. All of the players in the travel space, whether it's an airline, a hospitality company, a tour company, all of them would like to take their products and services directly to the consumer, bypassing all the non-value-adding intermediaries. Lufthansa, for instance, is encouraging people to make the booking directly, and in fact, even trying to penalize those who are coming through AGDS. That means their desire to disintermediate is very, very strong. And along with NDC, the new distribution capability, you will be able to take your products with all its attributes to the consumer. For example, if I'm going to buy a car, I'm a car enthusiast and I would like to see all of its torsional shear plus all of the performance characteristics, whereas my wife, if she wants to buy a car, she just wants to understand about the car, so she can be provided information at that level where I can be given a 1-hour demo of this all digitally. That is NDC. Again, industry convergence, the buying models, the commercial offers that we actually make, the inventory management we do, the travel, the components they bring together. They are all changing. It's no longer going to be a full service or self-service. It's going to be a context-centric service. It's not going to be a dynamic pricing, or it's not going to be a fixed pricing. It's going to be opaque pricing, because I don't want anybody to know what price I'm actually charging, because I might deviate or violate some of the agreements that I have otherwise. So, the travel enterprise of the future. On the one side, you have the customer. On the other side, products and services, employees and partners. What do I mean here? For me, a digital enterprise, and this is finally all this conversation, finally the CEO will ask, VK, tell me, what should I do? What does it mean? In a digital enterprise, your customers will be digitally connected, meaning that they will be able to communicate with you. Next is digitally engaged, that you can have a conversation, a meaningful conversation, which will lead you to understand what he wants, and you will be able to digitally serve them. That means at least part of the products and services you will be able to deliver digitally. And on the other side, I bring this concept of the virtual enterprise for the purpose of driving economies of scale on production. So digitally sourced products and services. I will pick the seat inventory from whichever airline that I want. It could be within my group in IAG if I take. It could be British Airways, Iberia, or Vueling, or Aer Lingus, which I take. Or my partner, American Airlines. I take hotel room from wherever it makes sense. It could be one of the large tier 1, or it could be a boutique hotel. I will take the short tickets from who is providing that. And I will be able to know that the product that I'm getting is conforming to the standards and the quality stipulations that I actually promise to my consumer. I maintain the brand, which is the customer, and I'm able to actually take it. And how this transition will take place. Yesterday I was talking to the Lufthansa Group, the largest aviation group in the world. They have a number of airlines. They can maintain their brand because Swiss promises something else compared to Lufthansa. They can maintain it, but you will be able to drive economies of scale in operations. And all of that you can do. So you pick up what you want from wherever, or it talks about another basic principle. For you to own a service, you don't need to necessarily operate all the components of it. And let the component be operated by somebody who has all the advantage for operation. Economies of scale, internationalized cost, all of it. Let them have that. And that's the future of the travel enterprise. And if I take that, what will it take? A platform that will redefine the future of travel by enabling enterprises to become service owners to its customers, encouraging travel spending by personalizing the offer, pricing based on customer lifetime value, thus building customer loyalty. It's very interesting. All through the last 50, 60, 70 years of commercial aviation life, airlines still continue to exploit customers. And that's all what they did. Customer loyalty is another word for customer exploitation. We do not, and I'm part of the industry. If I buy the ticket today, I am a platinum, diamond, gold, whatever tier customer today, I'll get it for $500. But if I buy the ticket tomorrow, it will be $1,200 because of the demand supply. In fact, if I can trust my airline that they are never going to actually charge me more. Of course, they need to make profit. I'm not going to go fly over Alaska to actually beat the airline. I will still fly the airline. Somebody who is actually flying from Singapore to Dubai to New York or to Seattle will be paying 1/2 the fare of somebody who is flying from Dubai to Seattle. Harish Manwani mentioned to me, the ticket on Emirates from Singapore to Dubai to Seattle was cheaper than flying directly to Seattle. So this is what pricing based on customer lifetime value. And the last one, facilitating consumption through any device, any place, any time, any state. Unconstrained access to inventory and, stimulating consumption. The last slide, I've taken the airline, but it is applicable to logistics, it's applicable to travel, it's applicable to all other sectors. The digital airline concept. What does it actually mean? On the one side, you have the travel suppliers, and on the other side, you have the consumer. And the customer. The customer could be the end consumer, or it could be a corporate, or it could be anything. So this is what finally it is. And I leave the floor with this thought. Tomorrow's enterprise, ladies and gentlemen, the concept of us creating enterprises where we recruit hundreds of thousands of people to work together, that may not be the reality in 2025 and beyond because it is not required. The billions of producers and consumers can be connected digitally, and they will be able to give their contribution to the ecosystem in a manner as if they were all working under an enterprise. And that is a major disruption. Do you want to have all of the people to be working as groups? Those groups could be virtual groups. I could be working in 10 different groups. All that possibilities are there thanks to digital technology. And again, coming back to the real point, innovating in a world of disruptions, why? We really want to encourage the world to consume more. Meaningful consumption, meaningful production. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.